Welcome to our webinar. Today's subject is 7 ideas to open new conversations, customers, faster. The challenge we face in business development very often is if we get through, the prospect says, I'm good. And so what we're going to explore here is going out of the box, some new ideas, and what can pure selling do for us? Can we time pace new sales and trusted advisor relationships? What is time pacing? Making it happen faster. The idea was pioneered, promoted by 3M in the 1990s, where they didn't want to wait for existing brands to become obsolete, buggy whips, like Post-it notes and Scotch tape. They were creating the future. By the way, if this idea of time pacing is of interest to you, you could learn more about it in the book, Competing on the Edge, a great read about how to see the future. So can we time pace? Can we make productive relationships happen faster and sales happen faster? Now, the basic ideas were born out of a crisis I faced. When I started my first business years ago, here was the assignment. We had a factory that had an obsolete product, a lard tin, and we were repositioning it as a decorative tin. It was kind of an orphan product. Nobody was handling it. I went out, I was the pricing and planning manager and doing this part-time. I went outside full-time, started a business. They were turning over existing accounts. It looked like a great thing until a crisis hit. Biggest customer, 80% of the sales that I expected, dropped the item, and now I'm in do or die mode. This is how I learned the do or die principle. So for 2 years, I ran around the country trying to find replacement business and finally identified Bunty Candy. Bunty Candy used $1 million of this product. If I could close Bunty, my business would take off. But when I called on the buyer said, we're good. We're buying from General Can. And I didn't know what to do. It was a tough time. I was facing failure. I was bleeding out cash. Time permitting, I'll tell you how I solved this problem, and my business did take off. Now, one way to frame the challenge here is, how do you create trusted advisor relationships of respect? The challenge we face could be represented by this slanted soccer field, where the incumbent vendor we're trying to dislodge is at the top of the playing field, and they just need to roll the ball downfield. And we're at the bottom, and we have to kick the ball upfield. It's a tough slog. The question is, how do we level the playing field? And this is before experience. Like if you have somebody, how do you create a trusted advisor relationship? It often goes like this. Well, first you get a little business, then a little bit more, and after a few years, you become a trusted advisor. But the problem we face is we need to become a trusted advisor before experience. We have to figure out a way to level that playing field. All right. First idea, we're going to go through 7 ideas, and I think there's a couple of bonus ideas. So if you're having a lousy day, week, month, quarter, you want to turn things around. 4 words could transform your life. Bold vision, bold behavior. An example, I solved the Bunty Candy problem. It's 10 years later. I hire a new accounting firm, and here's my problem. The new accounting firm charges 3 times the price of the old accounting firm. Sticker shock. I'm trying to figure out, how do I justify? I know I'm going to get better advice, but how do I justify it? And then they invite me in to see a proprietary spreadsheet they want to sell me. So it's like, insult to injury, compounding the felony. But I go in, I listen to the presentation. Afterwards, I say to the named partner, I'm curious, is this how you normally sell? Bert says, yeah, it was pretty good, wasn't it? And I said, no, I thought it needed work. So I thought about this for a couple of weeks, and I figured this is how I can get my money back. I called Bert and I said, you and your 6 partners in your CPA firm, you need to hire me to teach you how to sell. I don't know what your experience has been with CPAs, but are they normally wild risk takers? They liked some of the ideas I presented. They were like primitive versions of what I'm sharing now. So they invite me in for a meeting. There's three named partners on one side of the desk. I'm on the other side. This is what I remember of this meeting. Hey, Andy, you ever do this before for a CPA firm? No. Next partner. Do you have any testimonial letters you could show us? Success you've had with this kind of program? No. Third partner. Have you ever done this anywhere, at any time, for anyone? No. And then like in unison. So what makes you think you can do this? You could help us. I said, it's simple. I saw you present. You should be here. I could fill the gap. Well, they don't know what to do with me. But to their eternal credit, my gratitude, they invite me out on a sales call. My assignment, listen, look, debrief after the meeting. They're trying to close a $30 million manufacturer. So for the first hour of the meeting, I follow my instructions. But then I can't take it anymore. I raise my hand. The two named partners in the CPA firm melt. The owner, the prospect, says, gee, I was wondering if you were ever going to say anything. I asked two questions and I closed the sale. A month later, I was teaching them how to sell. During the 6 months we worked together, their closing ratio went from 20% to 80%. Bold vision, bold behavior. I had a bold vision of what I could do. I acted boldly. By the way, Accounting Today is a trade publication, and they wrote a front page article about my involvement with this CPA firm. You see me there when I had a little more hair. So a thought question that you might take away from today is, are you being bold enough in your behavior? As a matter of fact, when we have weekly meetings, that's one of our check-ins. What was the boldest thing you did in the last week? Here's one application. When you do get into a meeting, state your objective. You want your objective to be that the other party is glad they took the call and that they have takeaways. And at the end of the meeting, check in and make sure you satisfied that. A major prospect vanishes. Radio silence. You had a great first meeting. What went wrong? Why does this happen? So something to think about is at the outset, we're very often treated as an option. Even to the point where we work out a proposal and they agree to it, it's an option. They got other options. So how do we move ourselves to the top of the option pile? Here's one way to move things towards trusted advisor. If we're selling and they see us as an option, they have no need to talk to us right now. But if we bring wisdom, that's another matter. If we bring wisdom, then they have a reason to talk to us. So what is wisdom? Wisdom is useful information, ideas that the prospect can use without buying from us. So this is how we develop a trusted advisor relationship, one of the ways, before experience. We bring type 3 knowledge. There's 3 types of knowledge. Type 1 is what they know, type 2 is what they know they don't know, and type 3 is what they don't realize they don't know. That's the money cart, so to speak. What is the type 3 knowledge you're bringing to every meeting? So preparation for every meeting is what's the wisdom, what's the type 3 knowledge that we're bringing? That's how we earn the right. That's how we earn the right to fact finding. Idea 3, the magic moment of access. What do you do in the magic moment of access? This aligns with the book Habit Stacking, where they talk about Atomic Habits, where they talk about habit stacking. So what is the magic moment of access? Met a client's needs or prospect's needs. They confirm it. They're delighted. They have no further needs. Now you're in the magic moment of access. You have access to them and they're in a positive mood. What do you do in that moment? Well, if they're a customer and they're pigeonholing you, they're not breaking everything, they're not buying everything they could, this is a time to maybe break the pigeonhole. They're buying A but not B. Time to make an ask. Most importantly, for business development, you could ask for an introduction. Are you asking for enough introductions and the magic moment of access. We find salespeople often don't because they're in project management mode. They're reaching out to make sure they got a quote, the sample, the shipment, the blueprint. Prospect says they're happy, we check it off, and we go on to the next step. But when we do that, we're forgetting about the superhighway of growth, our big fans. Consider Sally's story. Sally does half of the sales for a client. They do 35 million in sales. They do printing and communications. Biggest customer is J&J, Johnson & Johnson. So there's 15 salespeople, and we're at the point in the program where everybody has to bring in a warm introduction. Now it's a week or two later, we have a one-to-one with Sally. So Sally, how did it go? Did you get any introductions at J&J? Nope. Okay, I'm thinking to myself, it's the first at bat. How many people did you ask? No one. What? Hey, did you know, Sally, that we all had an assignment? We're all supposed to bring in warm introductions? Yep, I know. So what happened? Andy, you don't understand. When I was hired 22 years ago, my job was to wait for the phone to ring. When the phone rings, I drive over to J&J, find out what they need, take care of it, and then I come back and I wait for the phone to ring. I said, okay, Sally, here's the problem. You're blocking the superhighway. You're the only one. You're the only one calling on J&J. We're only selling 2 divisions. If you don't ask for warm introductions, nobody will. You can't block the superhighway. If you choose not to, that's fine. We have to move you into another job. You're a loyal employee. Of course, it'll pay 1/3 less. And we'll get somebody who won't block the superhighway. Good news, happy ending. 2 weeks later, Sally had a warm introduction. Are you asking your big fans for introductions in the magic moment of access? And by the way, we need to do it on a do or die basis. Let's say we set the objective for the sales team once a month, 1 warm introduction a month. All right, it's month 2. You're having a one-to-one. Hey, how did it go, Joe? Jane, did you? No, I didn't get any. I didn't get any the first month. Boss, I'm going to try twice as hard the second month. Question is, how many do they need in month 2? Well, ownership mindset is they need 2. That's do or die, 1 a month. Salesperson math is 1 a month is the standard. They'll try 1 for each month and they'll get 12 zeros. So here's a place to enforce do or die. Your big fans are one of your strongest selling assets. Next idea, better qualification, PIKs. The payment in kind concept. What does the prospect do to show that he or she is serious? For example, introduce us to other decision makers, like the CEO in a B2B sale. Invite us back for another meeting. Visit our facility. For manufacturing and distribution facilities, I typically find if a new prospect visits our facility, we probably have a 75% chance of closing. The PIK decision rule, be bold. Go for the strongest PIK, payment in kind, to which we've earned the right. Thought questions. When you do a pipeline review, do you validate with PIKs? If a salesperson says a prospect is a great opportunity, do we look for evidence? I once was doing a one-to-one with a salesperson who was behind budget. He had $7 million in his pipeline. 20% close ratio was common. That's $1.5 million for the year. All I needed was $1 million, and halfway through the year, he had like $250,000. He's more than half off the mark. When we did a PIK review, we found out the $7 million became $700,000. And that's why he wasn't hitting his numbers. How do we earn the right to the PIK? Because this is a strong element in sales management. The idea of the full summit. The prospect is on a full summit looking down. Our job is to get them to look up and see what the opportunity is, to see the higher opportunity, the higher summit to which we could take them to improve their well-being. This is a worthy cause that gives us moral certainty. Powerful messaging drives internal urgency. Internal urgency is what impels them forward. For instance, I had a billing collecting SaaS client. Our clients grow 20% faster than the industry average. That helped us go from a 20% close ratio to a 40% close ratio. Advertising in our magazine, Physicians Journals. 30% of our readers keep our magazine by the computer when they do online research. We sold to pharmaceutical companies. The outcome, our sales were up 55%, paid advertising, in a period of time when sales were down because of the encroachment of internet advertising. Then I had a client who sold a gas analyzing machine for process production. So you can't run this 24/7 factory 7 days a week if the air quality is no good. Our machines cost $130,000. The competition was 65, half. But the strong value statement is we keep the factory running. It's like we're free. Powerful messaging drives the internal urgency. Better discovery. Sixth idea, the why and the why now. The why is the internal urgency. Why do they need to go forward? The why. We drive the whole process with the customer's why. The why now is the external urgency. Why are they acting now? Let's take an example. You're buying a car because your car's a clunker and it's breaking down. So if you need a car because your internal urgency is your car keeps on breaking down, and now you see an ad on TV, radio, whatever, internet, 10% off if you buy this week. That could be an external urgency, but only with the internal urgency. If you see the same ad a week or two after you buy a car, the external urgency, the discount is meaningless because there's no longer any internal urgency. So it's important to get granular and to discover what the urgency is, because that's how we drive the whole process forward. Seventh idea, your standard sales call. What is your step-by-step procedure? Keeps us on process. Typically 3 parts. Part 1, how do you get into the serious conversation? So that if you're in a serious conversation, you could do your fact finding, the why and why now, and then you can manage the opportunity. Let's look at some of the components and put them in the place of the standard sales call. We've talked about the importance of wisdom. Wisdom sets up the bold vision statement. It's to start to form a trusted advisor relationship where they don't have to buy from us. That's the wisdom. The bold vision is now something they're more willing to listen to. And this earns the right to answers to questions like, what is the urgency? What are the closing conditions? The series of conditions which, when met, result in the sale. Once we know the closing conditions, if we think there's a fit, now we can do our proving, meet the risk needs, and at the end of the call, hopefully we'll close the sale, but at a minimum, we ask for a strong PIK, a payment in kind, the next step in the sale. So our preparation always includes what's the wisdom that we're going to bring? What are our bold vision statements? What are the key questions we're going to ask to discover the urgency? What is the proving we're going to need? What's the PIK that we're going to request? A strong method at the very end of a call. What were your takeaways today, if any? You can turn that into the fast track. When a prospect says, oh, I was very interested in your fast delivery service. Great, you say. Is that something you want to learn more about on a fast track basis or a back burner basis? Well, if we did a strong sales call, if we hit an urgency, they're going to say fast track, and then we set up the PIK, the next meeting, the next step in the process, 3-step process. Let's go back to do or die at Bunty. Remember, I'm going down the tubes, running out of money. The buyer said we're good. With very little money left and emotionally distraught, I asked the question, who's the real decision maker here? I mean, Bunty Candy is not taking 1 million cans and putting candy and consuming it. They're going to food retail, to retailers, to the food buyers making the decision. So I had a bold vision. I had special artwork I had lined up, but Bunty didn't want it. So with my last marketing money, I reached out to the food buyer at 400 retailers. Bunty didn't want it, but somebody did. I got lucky. Can you guess who it was? Walmart, and they wanted it now with urgency. I must have gone to Bentonville, Arkansas 16, 18 times. My business took off. I grew at 10x in a few years. Bold vision, bold behavior. Bonus idea 1. The competitive analysis. I will send this to you for your business after the seminar. This is an example of what AI can do. A competitive evaluation of IBM's mainframe. This is a great way to get into a conversation. They don't want to buy from you, but they sure might, as heck, might be interested in what their competitive space looks like. This is something you could do with AI. Bonus idea 2, your trusted advisor grid. Very often, green means trusted advisor, yellow some relationship, red no relationship. Very often our day-to-day contact is green, but maybe not so much the rest. And our pipeline reviews include looking at a trusted advisor grid. Well, we know Rome wasn't built in a day. Think about your takeaways, if any. We're going to have questions in a minute. First, a quick recap on ideas we discussed. What pure selling can do to time pace, creating relationships and sales. First, bold vision, bold behavior. Are you bold enough in your vision, bold enough in your behavior? What wisdom are you bringing to each sales meeting? What do you do in the magic moment of access? What do your sales team members do? And by the way, this is not limited to sales team members. This is really important for anybody who's customer facing, project managers, customer service. Do better qualification at each step with PIKs. Build urgency. Show the customer he's at a full summit. Do better discovery. Find out the why and why now. And you could use the takeaways at the end of the meeting to do the fast track technique, and then build a strong standard sales call that incorporates these ideas and others. Now, in a moment, we'll have some time for questions. You can put it in the chat. As an announcement, our next seminar in July 8th is 5 ways to defend your key customers from the competition. How do you do it? Is delighting your customer enough? What can pure selling do? Again, that'll be our next seminar in July. Reach out to me if you want more information on the standard sales call, on using AI in selling, or our trusted advisor grid. And now we have some time for questions. Well, here's an obvious one. What were the 2 questions I used to close the sale? What were the 2 questions I used to close the sale? So this is a 2-step closing procedure. When I was with the accountants trying to close the manufacturer. First step, it sounds like we have a fit. You said A, B, and C were important, and we met that. You agreed. The buyer said yes. The decision maker said yes. Then the closing question is there any reason to hesitate in going forward with us? And they said no. Just as an aside, I had a client recently that was an M&A firm. I sat in on a management meeting with a company 10 times the size of our company that we were selling, and I did the same thing. And the buying company said, nope, there's no reason not. I asked, my question was, is there any reason why you wouldn't give us a strong LOI? They said no, and we got a very strong LOI, and the seller got 50% more than his walkaway price. You advocate bold behavior. Wouldn't this alienate some people who would see you as too pushy? So a related question I've gotten is it possible we might alienate people? And the answer is yes. But I would say that you could alienate some people and you still could grow your sales 50%. When I was working out this program 20 years ago, the first major breakthrough. We were selling to pharmaceutical companies, and the owner was saying, push the urgency, push the urgency. And the chief operating officer was saying to me, just remember, Andy, there are 7 customers out there, Pfizer, Novartis, etc. You alienate one brand manager, you turn off the entire company. So that's how we were testing. This is the acid test we did for this program. How do I discover wisdom? I'm relatively new in the industry. Well, I find that this is a great team building exercise. First of all, obviously talk to your peers if you have other salespeople on the team, but a good exercise, have each sales team member and each executive in the firm contribute one bit of wisdom and then share it with everybody. You'll have 10 to 20 bits of wisdom in no time. And by the way, if you just talk to customers and ask them about their best practices, you'll become an expert in the industry very soon on the premise that you're calling on customers. PIKs, I don't like this idea. I do things for prospects. I don't ask them to do things for me. Well, if you're achieving all your goals, I have no objection. But it's a two-way street, and big fans are very happy to help you. And if you feel uncomfortable, the first time, try it in a low-risk environment. Can you really form trusted advisor relationships before experience? Yeah, I've been doing it for decades. I did it starting with that first business with the tins. I was going up against entrenched competition. And what I did at that time is I acted as a consultant to the owners of businesses. I had ideas I could share with them. And when they could buy from me, they did, as out of a sense of gratitude. So I would say the answer is yes, you can do it before experience. And I've been teaching, I've done this for 30 years with over 200 clients. You absolutely could do this. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us. You want some more information, some follow-up, write to me at andyg@urgencybasedselling.net. And I look forward to seeing you in July at our next webinar. Thanks for joining us today. Bye.